Sous la mer, nap naviguer. Agweta woyo, kontan yawe nou. Sous la mer, nap naviguer. Agweta woyo, kontan yawe nou. Hey folks, how you doing? We are at part 2 of the series. Is Haiti cursed? Or is it Haiti's fault? Or is it just voodoo? Right? Um, and it's been delayed for a little while because Haiti has been in the news recently, first starting with the assassination of President Jovenel Moise. And then we had the earthquake, and then the Haitian migration. This week, however, the homie Trump decides that he wants to speak on Haitians and Haitians coming into America. And I'm not going to give that any light because of the research that I've been doing. I've just kind of come to realize that this is just the way that the West does things. And your boy Trump thrives off of controversy. So, with that being said, just gonna move right along. In part 1, we saw how the papacy has been involved in foreign government throughout history, with the issuance of the doctrine of discovery, into Catera, et cetera, et cetera. And these really just seem to be spawned from Unum Sanctum that was issued by Boniface the Eighth in 1302. So they've been doing this for quite some time. They've been at this for a while, okay? And as much as we want to, we can kind of disregard it as something that is spiritual. Its impact really is really taking its toll at this point. We're seeing the effects of it throughout time. And so, why is this relevant? How did we even arrive to that? Today, the Pope is also known as the Holy See. That means he sees over the dominion, the Catholic Church and its dominion. So wherever you see a church, the Pope sees over it. And the Vatican has its executive, which is the Pope, the Curia, the administrative, and also its legislation, okay? Its judicial branch, if you will. And that's how they handle things in that aspect. But let us not forget the title as the Holy See. Okay, so I've been doing a little digging, and my handy dandy book, World History, been walking around with this thing, and it it begins with in ancient Egypt, that they proclaim to be one of, well, the world's greatest civilization. And what plays a major role in a civilization, or what allows it to be built and to flourish and to grow, is based on the water, the river. Uh, Egypt, as we know, is known for many things. However, it is centered around the Nile River, which is the longest river in the world, um, which empties out into the Mediterranean Sea. Now, there are many historians who have written about Egypt, and this this is I've only been able to not even scratch the surface on the history itself. A great African author is Dr. Yosef. I think Dr. Yosef Ben, Dr. Ben is what they call him. And he has extensive writing about Egypt, its history and its culture. But for me, from what I read and what I gather, I just imagine it just being a cultural hub, and more so that the structures itself, the monuments and the buildings that they have put up, um, it really was like a laboratory, where they observe nature. And even in the temple of Dendora, or Dendra, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, you could see the columns have inscriptions on them. The ceilings have its inscriptions on them. And then there is one particular scene in the temple where you see really people on a boat, on a boat. um, One of the gods is Ray. You can see portrayed sailing on a boat, because he tends to go from the rising and down into the underworld and back over again. So sailing is nothing that is new. Um, they also seem to focus on one area that they call the Fertile Crescent, which includes Mesopotamia, and there are different regions in Mesopotamia that we are familiar with. In Mesopotamia itself, is it the largest region then, was Sumer. Now, Sumer, if you say it, if you were to like translate it in Creole, it would really be it would really be translated into on water. Su on mer, water, a body of water, river, ocean, sea, shore, mer, right? And so we have the song in the beginning. Once I started digging into and looking into everything, the song has been playing out in my head. Sous la mer, nap naviguer, which is on the water, we're navigating. Agüita Oyo is a loi, is depicted. You could see it's a vessel, and sometimes he's depicted as the captain of a fish. But because of the Catholic influence, you could see another image of what would be, I think it's Saint Ulrich, if I'm not mistaken. Well, the image itself portrays a man who looks like a pope who's holding, I think, a Bible and a fish in his hand. And that was the image that they used to represent Agwe, who's supposed to be the captain of the ship. The veve itself is of a boat, and the name of the boat is Imamu. So I found it interesting that this region, they called it Sumer, and how much the water has allowed them to grow and develop. It helped with irrigation. Agwe is the loi that you would address when you, before going and embarking on a journey, embarking on a voyage, you would address Agwe, because he would be the one to help you for smooth sailing, if you will, because you know the waters could get deep and they could get choppy. And I say all of this because it seems that sailing and the traveling was exclusive to this particular region, and that is not so. People have been traveling. Of course, we know in Africa there's just so much. they say life itself begins in Africa, and how there are all these different species. Even the Congo, which is associated, ironically enough, agua, it could be, you can interpret it as, you've heard it before, agua in Spanish, and aqua, and that even goes to water. And another African deity that I was exposed to was through the internet, Mami Wata. The mother of water, and her dominion, if you will, and how much of an influence that she has in voodoo. The Congo River itself dumps into the Atlantic. And so while I was looking, I realized, yes, this they've been navigating for quite some time from the south to the north through the Nile, and over into Asia, right? And how the West now has really founded itself upon these three main civilizations: the Nile River Valley, the Indus Valley, and the Hung-He, aka the Yellow River in Asia. And how they've taken all of these different pieces from these philosophies and et cetera, and has made up their own. And again, for me, what I envision Egypt being is the center where people were able to come and not only exchange commodities, but also exchange ideas. And these things for Egypt, for me, since it's an observatory, they're observing nature. I feel this is my theory, that it was more of a lifestyle for them. And not necessarily they put it in terms of religion. However, they created religion, but the Egyptians were really just created a center in order for people to come and to learn and to share and exchange, and used all of these different gods and goddesses in order to relay that to those who visited. So those monuments and those structures were just like, here we are, the institutions and all, there's just so much greatness. It was just there for the world to see and the world to partake, to be a part of. But by no means is it exclusive to this particular region where people were traveling. Again, as far as Agwe is concerned, Agwe would be the one to soothe and calm the waves and the water for ease. And it's really, if you to think about the Loire itself, it's the current of the waves. I saw a video where they were talking about sailing across the Atlantic, and I Googled, well, how deep is the Atlantic and how hard is it for you to get across the Atlantic? And at a point on the map, if you look, Haiti is between 10 and 20 degrees north. and it is on the same ley line as Mauritania. And oddly enough, I came across another video of a young lady who was speaking to someone in Mauritania, and both nationalities speak Creole, and the language was not that far off. I'll put the link to the videos in the description below, just so you can see it for yourself. But yes, these people were sailing. They were not introduced by the New World. And again, another theory of mine is ashes to ashes, dust to dust. You know, wherever there is land and there's water and there are the elements, so is life. So is life. And so these people were here, and the people were able to travel and set their sails. And in Haitian voodoo, and I know I'm a little all over the place, right? In Haitian voodoo, they always make reference to Guinea, which is supposed to be this mythical place. I wouldn't say it's not heaven, it's not hell, it's a Guinea to Guinea will return. And there is a country, Guinea in Africa, as we all know. And I'm just, when I think about it, the amount of lives that were lost, not through the transatlantic slave story that is perpetuated, but these people really taking that on and learning that course, because you can travel through, and she talks about it in the video, you could travel from the Canary Islands, which is off the coast of Africa, or you could take the shorter route through Cape Verde. And they say Cape Verde is the shorter route. It takes about 2 weeks to lead you into the Caribbean. And how Haiti, just thinking about voodoo itself, how it incorporates all of these different, it's really sophisticated and incorporates so many schools of thought, and how these people, I mean, they traveled. The Moors are known for being the seafaring people of the world, and how they landed into this place and then their story was taken away. There is so much that I wanted to share, and so much that I wanted to say. I just don't want it to get lost. Even itself, when we're talking about exchanging of commodities and ideas and things of that, the trade that was taking place, in order for you to take this journey and coast along into the Caribbean, they call it sailing the trade wind that leads you over into the Caribbean islands, where we have Haiti with its capital as the Port-au-Prince. Port-au-Prince. So the word association. Sumer is between two rivers, the Tigris River and the Euphrates River. And in the Bible, the Hebrew Bible, by a people who they also, in this particular textbook, they describe them as a people who were set apart, whereas other civilizations or the other peoples had many gods. They believed in one God. And these people chose another way. They chose another way. And in the land of Canaan. But anyway, in the Bible, Genesis 2, I think verses 14, the fourth river is the Euphrates. And then we go right back into this word association, because it's like it could, when they talk about things in the Bible, it could come across as if it's true, because you associate something that you read about historically, and then it comes up in this book. And so, as opposed to this brute force that they were using in order to conquer, right? There is religion. There is religion. And even in the United States, the First Amendment of the United States the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or an abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Okay, so even in the First Amendment, they talk about religion, and really how it has been able to tame a people. So, whether it's BC or AD, before the conquest or before the conquering, and or AD, after the domination, Sun Tzu, who is supposedly the author of The Art of War, felt that brute force, the physical war, was not the way to go. Brute force was not the way to go in order for you to conquer or to wage or win a war. And so I wanted to just share some light on that, and really hear your thoughts. In the meantime, I'm gonna stop there for today. I guess maybe we'll have a part 3, and we'll go into it a little bit more. But today, I just really wanted to acknowledge the water. In the meantime, in between time, take care of yourselves, and each other.